2025. The year Nintendo is going to hit big. Okay, I'm probably exaggerating that, but 2 weeks ago they've announced the Nintendo Switch 2, and for someone like me who has mainly used the Switch Lite only for the past few years, it may seem like a good opportunity to finally upgrade out of the Switch Lite. Except, for me, not quite. Because while, yes, I would want to upgrade out of my Switch Lite, I don't personally want to get the Switch 2 day one. And I have a few reasons why I will not do this. And instead, I would choose to upgrade to an OLED sooner than to wait for a Switch 2. So, let's go through the reasons. Now, before we start, I want to kind of inform you all watching that this video is in no way trying to be dissing on Nintendo in any way, because I've been a fan of Nintendo for like my entire life. I mean, I've started using the Wii when I was very young. I used the Wii U, the 3DS, the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, and even the Switch Lite, and I think they're all very good consoles, but I normally am not really intent on getting things day one, unless I think they're very good. I mean, stuff like the upcoming Doom the Dark Ages, I would choose to get day one if I'm given the chance to. But I'm more or less trying to explain why I don't get things day one almost. So, yeah, let's get this on. Now, the first reason I wouldn't get the Switch 2 day one is pretty much the most obvious one. It's the release date. Now, obviously, we don't have an exact idea on when the Switch 2 will release. Okay, we'll have more info in the upcoming Direct in April, but simply put, the Switch 2 may not get released until potentially summer 2025, so that means as early as June at the very least. So that means that's going to be a 5 month wait. And if you're like me, who only has the Switch Lite, yeah, having to bear 5 more months just to upgrade, yeah, I expect more. Really, the Switch Lite obviously is full of flaws. There's no dock, no separate Joy-Cons, none of that. And even more insulting is I've had it since 2020. So, yeah, I don't believe I'd want to keep using my Switch Lite for 5 to 6 more months. So instead, getting the OLED's uh, the more feasible option for me personally. And the second reason I would choose not to get a Switch 2 day one kinda has to do with game library launch titles, since obviously when a new console releases, it's not gonna have as many games. I mean, the Nintendo Switch 1, for example, obviously only shipped with a few games like well, I don't know the whole list, but if you know the whole list, you might know what I'm talking about. But the point is, I tend to get consoles rather late, and when I do, I have a lot of options for what I can pick for my first game. So I can relate to that because I first got my hands on the Wii U back in 2014, so that was 2 years after the Wii U released, which was 2012, and by that point, the library for the Wii U was rather big, so I ended up getting my hands on a few games like Wii Party U and New Super Mario Bros. U, and I thought they were pretty good games. And we got more games that released as well, like Mario Kart 8, Splatoon, and maybe Just Dance 4. I remember playing that, me and my sister. So yeah, that's the same logic for the Switch. I didn't get it initially when it released. Instead, I got the Switch Lite in 2020. So yeah, by that point, by 2020, there were already a lot of games on available for the Switch and the Switch Lite. So there's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there was Smash Ultimate, Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection was released at that time. And yeah, you know what I'm saying. There's a lot more games you can pick if you get a console late. Whereas if you get a console literally day one, you're stuck with like certain launch titles, and the same thing might be true for the Switch 2. Of course, the Switch 2 is rumored to have backwards compatibility, but if most of the games you're just gonna play when you get to Switch 2 are just Switch 1 games, then I don't see why you would get a Switch 2 day one. You're better off just waiting a few months before, more games start to appear. Like, let's say the upcoming Splatoon 4 or maybe remasters of Metroid Prime 2. Those games are highly anticipated, but they might end up being exclusive to the Switch 2 and but may not be launch titles. So that's kind of my thing. I avoid game consoles day one because of the lack of as many games. And then the third reason is more of a personal theme for me, but I don't really think it's absolutely necessary to upgrade when it's absolutely critical for you to. So, for example, I first got my PS4 in 2018, right? And well, that was obviously 2 years before the PS5 release, but even after the PS5 released, like 4 or 5 years, I still never really considered getting one because I still think the PS4 is still good. You got games like Mortal Kombat X, Car Rider Drift. I played that a bit, and you got lots of games on PS4 that are still good and will still work on PS5. Of course, that, and also I mostly focus on PC gaming, so that's your other reason why I didn't get PS5, because, PC gaming is just much better. And same thing true with PC, because, like, for example, I only have a Intel i5-10400. That's been the processor I've had since I had my current PC, but it's all of a sudden now that I feel like it's absolutely needed for me to upgrade, because some games that are going to be released now, like Doom the Dark Ages, are going to require a processor with 8 cores, and well, the i5-10400 is only 6, so I obviously would have to upgrade to a better processor, like the i7-10700K. Of course, obviously that is a 10th gen, but since I already had a 10th gen, I can only use 10th or 11th gen processors, because if I want to use a 12th gen or a Ryzen, I'd have to change the motherboard, which I do not want to do because that might mess up Windows and might cause me to lose some data. So that's why I choose not to change my motherboard. And another thing is that Nintendo tends to kind of keep their past consoles active still. It's like the Wii, for example. Even after the Wii U released, the online services for the Wii still kept being active. Though I think it was shut down in 2014 because of GameSpy closing down, but I may be wrong. It's just stuff I've heard somewhere and I don't know where, so try to confirm in the comments if that's true or not, if GameSpy was related to the Wii. The same thing's true with the Wii U and the 3DS. The Nintendo Network stuff, it still stayed active after the Switch released, and it only took until it was only until 2024 when Nintendo actually pulled the plug on Nintendo Network. So yeah, yeah, they tend to keep their consoles as active as they possibly can. So yeah, they kept the Wii U and 3DS active 7 years after the Switch released, even though those two were obviously obsolete, and games for those two platforms still kept getting released. Like Samus Returns, for example, was released in September 2017, even though the Switch released like 6 months before Samus Returns, and we also got WarioWare Gold in 2018, which was at least a year after the Switch release. So that's kind of the point, really. Nintendo still wants to support their old platforms as much for as long as they can. What the fuck did I say? Okay, but you get the point. Nintendo wants to maintain support for all the platforms as they possibly can. Now, of course, you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, when should be the great time to actually get a Switch 2 if it's not day one? And honestly, this is hard to decide, and obviously you would have different views on the best time to actually get Switch 2, and that's fine if you have different thoughts on this, but I prefer getting one as soon as like the library is like decent enough. So meaning we got games like Splatoon 4, Metroid Prime 2 remastered, and even Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, well, obviously I would have the Switch OLED before the Switch 2 releases, and I would try to keep using it for as long as I can until I find that there's enough games. And so yeah, two of the games I think would be the most critical for me would be Metroid Prime 2 Remastered, since obviously I plan on playing Metroid Prime 1 Remastered, and also Splatoon 4, because lately I've been picking up an interest in playing Splatoon, but I feel like it might have been too late for me to actually play Splatoon 3, so I chose to kind of like hold it off, because like being able to play for only like a few months until we got Splatoon 4 seems not necessarily a logical option. And I guess you can say the same with the Switch OLED or Metroid Prime Remastered, but you know they're both not going to be like fully killed off, as I said. But still, I think Splatoon 4 should be the most critical one in my opinion. So if it isn't going to be a launch title for the Switch 2, I'd at least try to wait until it actually gets released. And maybe even then it's best to wait like a month or two afterward. Just, you know, in case there's more games I feel like trying. Like, maybe, because again, like remasters for Metroid Prime 2 and 3 and Metroid Prime 4. So, you know, those games I feel like are very critical in my opinion. So yeah, and maybe there's some other games for the Switch too that might be as critical, like maybe Silksong or maybe I don't know, whatever other game you imagine that needs to be released on the Switch too, like maybe a possible remaster for Quake 4, who knows? Um, so yeah, the possibilities are endless here for the Switch 2 launch titles. And this might probably just be me, but I feel like some games should also kind of receive Switch 2 upgrades, because obviously some games on the Switch kind of look crap compared to other platforms. Like, if you look at games like, for example, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus or Mortal Kombat 1, you can tell that on the Switch they definitely don't look very good, but the Switch ports for some games like Wolfenstein 2 do have some benefits, like they have gyro natively, which the PS4 and PS5 versions don't have. So yeah, I think the giving some games that were on the Switch 1 kind of a Switch 2 upgrade, well, visually and a gameplay perspective, because it would help, you know, with the Switch 2's hardware in mind, since it is going to be a lot better than the Switch 1. So yeah, some games like MK1 should kind of have a Switch 2 upgrade, and well, it's obviously not likely, but I still think it could be possible. You know, if we got other games like Crisis Remastered Trilogy upgraded for the Switch 2, since if you compare between all the different versions of Crisis Remastered, you'll notice that the Switch version looks a bit more like the Xbox 360 or PS3 version, which the whole remaster is supposed to be based off or built off of those ports, if I remember correctly, but you get the idea. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. It's just something I wanted to see. It's obviously not super likely, but I still think it would be nice to see some games getting upgraded with the Switch 2 hardware in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say. So, short version, I won't get the Switch 2 day one because I want to upgrade to the OLED first, and I want to also wait for a few games, or for the Switch 2 library to be big enough, so I have to wait for Splatoon 4 and Metroid Prime 2 remastered. So, yeah, that's kind of everything I have to say. So let me know, are you gonna get a Switch 2 day one? And if you are, what game do you think should be a launch title? So, yeah, that's basically everything I have to say. So, thank you for watching. See ya.